Welcome to the 2019 Pavement Management Program Special Assessment Informational Presentation. If you're viewing this presentation online via the city website, you will see that there are 3 videos highlighted to choose from. The first video will address adjusted front footages and how they are calculated. The second video will discuss calculating assessments. And the third video will discuss assessment payment options. So next we'll talk about some assessment payment options. There are essentially 3 options for payment of assessment. The first would be to pay off your assessment in full prior to November 25th, 2020. If you choose to go that route, no interest will be applied to that assessment amount. And as soon as that assessment is paid in full, no further action is needed from you and that assessment is satisfied. The second option would be to pay a portion of the balance of your assessment. There is a minimum payment of $100 required. You cannot prepay or pay a portion of the assessment below $100. And pay that portion prior to November 25th, 2020. Again, no interest would be applied to whatever portion of the assessment you pay prior to November 25th. The remaining balance then would be automatically transferred onto your property taxes after November 25th. And we'll go into that in a second here. The last option would be to take no action at this time, which is fine. And then after November 25th of 2020, the assessment amount would be automatically rolled on to your property taxes and evenly spread out over the next 10 years. So if you were to choose this option, if you prepaid a portion of it, the remaining balance would then be rolled on and spread out evenly over 10 years. Or if you chose to prepay none of the assessment, then that total balance would be spread over or rolled over onto your property taxes and spread out over 10 years. The balance would also have a 5.5% interest applied annually to it if you do choose to go this route. And that interest is applied to the declining principal on an annual basis. What that interest is calculated by is the cost of selling the bonds that are used to fund these PMP projects, and it also covers the administrative cost of selling those bonds. It is important to note that the first time you would see the bill for your assessment show up on your property tax statement would be with your May 2021 property tax statement. That would be the first time that you would see a bill for this assessment. If any time during those 10 years, if you choose to pay off the remaining balance, you can do so. You can pay off at any time. So for instance, if after 5 years you chose to pay off the remaining balance, you could do so. However, interest wouldn't be applied through those 5 years, but after the balance was paid off, no further interest would be applied. After November 25th, however, you only have the option of paying the amount due with your property tax statement or the full amount. No partial payments can be received after November 25th, 2020. The city does offer a hardship deferral program. I would point out that this is a deferral of the assessment. This is not a forgiveness of the assessment. If you're interested in the deferral program, there are some criteria that must be met, and all criteria must be met to qualify for the program. The first criteria is that the applicant must be age 65 or older or retired by virtue of a permanent and total disability. The second requirement is the applicant's income must be below the very low limit as set by the federal government. For this year's assessments, that limit has been set at $36,200 or less for one person. And for 2 people, that limit was set at $41,400. An income verification is required prior to acceptance into the hardship deferral program. The parcel that's being assessed must also be homesteaded, and its value must be less than the current average value of a single-family home in the city of Bloomington. And for 2020, that comes out to be $313,100 or less. If you think that you qualify for the hardship deferral or want more information on the hardship deferral program, you can contact our assessing division to determine your eligibility and to fill out paperwork to enter into that program. It's important to note that the hardship deferral must be renewed annually, and if at some point during in renewal all criteria aren't met, then that assessment would then become due and then go through the same process where you would have an opportunity to prepay in full or a portion of prior to it being rolled onto your property taxes and spread out over 10 years. The other change, if it changes the ownership, if the property is sold, that would also trigger the assessment being due at that time as well. It is also important to note that when the assessment is in the deferral status, interest is still applied annually to that amount. So the assessment has interest applied annually, and then when it does go to an active status and is rolled on is due, if it is rolled onto the property taxes, then interest is applied to that principal as well. So it's important to make sure that you understand the implications of the interest applying while it's in the deferral status. In conclusion, there will be a public hearing held at the City Council meeting on Monday, October 5th, prior to the assessment roll going before the Council for approval. If you would like to view or participate in the meeting, you can visit the City website on the address shown there. This is a virtual meeting due to the pandemic. We will not be meeting in person, so information on how to view or participate or testify virtually in front of the City Council can be found at the City website listed on the screen. If you have any additional assessment-related questions, you can feel free to contact myself, Brian Hansen, at the information shown on the screen. If you have any construction-related questions, you can contact Cecilio Santana, who is the project engineer, and he can be reached using the contact information, again, shown on the screen. Thank you for watching, and have a good day.